Steve Avery pitches for Atlanta. Doug Drabek for the Pirates. Last night, they went head-to-head, matching pitch for pitch. And when the dust cleared, it all came down to one inning. The ninth. There he goes. Slog's throw. Save! And that's fair. And Atlanta finally scores. And they take the lead here in the ninth inning. With a lone run on the board, Pena came from the bullpen to try to nail it down for a young man too nervous to watch. Got him! Got him! Three wins Pittsburgh, 3 for Atlanta. It's Game 7. How can a baseball team play so well for so long and still not be in the World Series? 168 games without a payoff. What more do they have to do? Mid-February until mid-October. All the trips, taxis, hotels and restaurants, away from the family, victories and defeats, doubleheaders, hot streaks and slumps, injuries, sweltering days, and cold nights. Can it really be true that the season will be over tonight for either the Pirates or the Braves? Lose one game and collect only heartaches. Win only one more game and be in the World Series. That's the way it is tonight in Pittsburgh. Good evening, everyone. They're going for all the marbles here tonight in Pittsburgh. I'm Jack Buck with Tim McCarver. And Tim, this is wonderful weather for this time of year.
Well, it's a very pleasant evening, but I can tell you that there are going to be some dry mouths down on the field. Earlier comments today, Bobby Bonilla talking about the playoffs. He said, you play 6 months of the season for 2 weeks of pure hell. Bobby Cox saying somebody's got to win tonight or else somebody's going to explode. You never really think about baseball in terms of a big game because of the long season, a leisurely pace. Well, tonight, replace leisurely with a lot of other words that mean a lot of different things, and importance comes to mind. I guess it boils down to this. The winner of this ball game goes to the World Series, and the loser stays home to watch it on television.
The two pitchers who will help determine the winner are John Smoltz, the Atlanta right-hander. He won Game 3. He was a 15-game winner during the season. He'll be opposed by the left-hander, John Smiley. He won 20 and is trying to win his first in the playoff. The Dodgers tried all season long, and they couldn't shake these Atlanta Braves. The Pirates are trying to do the same this evening. Who is going to play Saturday night in Minnesota?
CBS Sports coverage of Game 7 of the 1991 National League Championship Series is brought to you by Chevrolet, the heartbeat of America, the cars more people depend on. The people at Nike, who encourage you to just do it. And by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper is just what the doctor ordered.
At the outset, a lot of people picked the Pirates because they had the extra game at home. Well, this is the extra game at home, and we'll see what Pittsburgh does with it. John Smiley on the mound. He had a poor outing in Game 3 and didn't get through the second inning, but he is a 20-game winner, and he'll take some beating here tonight. Here's the lineup which will confront him for Atlanta with Lonnie Smith in left. Terry Pendleton at third base. Ron Gand in center. David Justice in right. Brian Hunter, the first baseman. Greg Olson catching again. Mark Lemke at second. Rafael Belliard playing short, batting eighth, and John Smoltz will be the Atlanta hurler.
Defensively for the Pirates, the fine outfield includes Barry Bonds in left field, Andy Van Slyke in center, Bobby Bonilla will be the right fielder, Steve Buechele at third base, Jay Bell the shortstop, Jose Lind at second, Orlando Merced will be the first baseman, and behind the plate, Mike LaValliere.
There is David Justice. He's been in the middle of a lot of things in this playoff. John Smoltz will pitch for Atlanta this evening. And the leadoff hitter is Lonnie Smith. 6 hits in the series. He'll be followed by Pendleton and Gant here in the first against Smiley. We're underway, and ball one from the lefty. Doug Harvey works his second game of the playoff behind the plate. Frank Pulley at first, Danny DeMuth at second, Eric Gregg at third, Bob Davidson in left, and Bruce Fleming, a right field umpire. Out of play, 1-1. In game 3, John Smiley retired the first 2. And he was struck with a double by Gant, a double by Justice, a double by Hunter, and a home run by Olson. Off-speed breaking ball, and that puts Lonnie Smith in the hole.
That's the changeup by Smiley, and I think because of the importance of this ball game, that a changeup is going to work well for John Smiley tonight. A lot of the hitters are very, very anxious.
Count goes to 2-2.
Smiley with a combination of a good tailing fastball. He'll run the fastball in on the right-handers, and an excellent straight change. His breaking ball, a curveball, but it's his third best pitch.
Ball 3. Lonnie Smith started last night's game with a double. We mentioned the weather. It is 60 degrees. It's just perfect for this time of year for game 7. Ball 4 is way wide. And Lonnie Smith draws a walk. And we're going to keep an ever-present eye on the bullpen. See, during the regular season, he didn't walk the leadoff batter very often. Orlando Merced will hold against the runner. And the batter will be Terry Pendleton. Pendleton with only 4 base hits. Smiley gets ahead on the count.
I think managers are going to manage this evening like the early innings were late innings. Both Bobby Cox and Jim Leyland with 9 or 10 pitchers available.
And that's foul past first base. And strike 2 to Terry Pendleton.
That is including the starting pitcher. The only 2 pitchers that are not available to both ball clubs tonight, Doug Drabek, who started last night, and there's Doug, and Steve Avery, who started last night's game. They are not available to pitch, but there's a slot in the statistics on the statistics sheet called Others, and Others will be in there tonight. There's Avery.
The leadoff walk to Lonnie Smith, and an 0-2 count to Pendleton. That ball is foul. Foul ball.
I think Pendleton broke his bat. Yep, he's going back for new wood, and this ball just foul. It hits foul on the first hop, and Merced, by the time he recovers, catches it in foul territory.
Pendleton returns to the plate. Lonnie Smith has 1 stolen base in this playoff. And he draws a throw.
Smiley does not have a good move to first base. This might be his best one. Very average move to first base.
And Pendleton stays up there. A lot warmer tonight than it was last evening here. He has walked Lonnie Smith. No balls, 2 strikes to count on Terry Pendleton. Ball 1. Jimmy Williams, the third base coach.
Lonnie Smith with 9 stolen bases during the season. He was caught 5 times. But he should be able to get a good jump off John Smiley. LaValliere, a very quick release as a catcher.
Count goes to 2-2 to Pendleton.
After 7 straight fastballs to Pendleton, LaValliere calls for the changeup and then makes a nice block on the ball and keeps it out in front.
This game is likely to be played at a snail's pace here this evening. So much important riding on every pitch. Are they going to send Lonnie on the 2-2 count? LaValliere sneaking a peek into the dugout. Biggest game of his life. Instead playing first tonight. He'll be batting left-handed against Smoltz in the bottom of the inning. Off the glove, and there goes Lonnie Smith to third. First and third, and nobody out. Despite his range, leaned, couldn't get it. And in fact, probably would be better off had he not touched the ball.
Pendleton led the National League in hitting this year with a .319 average, but only his 5th hit in the series. And I've got a feeling that the Pirate bullpen is going to get up and get busy right now. There's a lot of buzzing around going on down there as Lonnie Smith walks into third, and the Braves threatening early.
First and third, and nobody out. And Bob Walk is starting to warm up. And Randy Tomlin, the left-hander, will join him. Hitting for Atlanta, as Jim Leyland looks on, is Ronnie Gant. He's had a half dozen hits against the Pirates. Watches it go low.
Infield and double play depth. And the third baseman, Steve Buechele, does have the option. If the ball's hit slowly, he can come home with the ball.
2 balls, no strikes. And the hole is getting deeper for the Pirates. As you see, Gant 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Scored the winning run after getting a walk in the 9th inning last night. Stole second, rode a home run to base hit by Greg Olson. The Pirates would give up a run for a double play. Popped him up foul and out of play. 2-1.
The way some of these games have gone during this league championship series, a double play ball to score a run would be a big rally. There have been 3 1-0 ball games. The first time in postseason play, 137 postseason series, and the first time there have been 3 1-0 games.
The pitching has been terrific.
Wow.
Including Drabek, who lost here last night. He was sensational. Smiley trying to be sensational tonight. 2-2. And the Pirate left-hander could certainly use a strikeout. This youngster apparently rooting for Pittsburgh. Smiley won his last 7 at the end of the season, including 1 in relief. He was good down the stretch for the Pirates. Three and 2. Pendleton, the runner at first, is an average runner, having stolen 10 bases during the season. We'll see if they start him. Gant does strike out a lot.
Yeah, the runner at first base does not necessarily have to be fast on a 3-2 count. It's dependent on whether the hitter puts the ball in play. I think he'll be running.
There he goes. And a fly ball into left field at the track. And it's going to be caught by Bonds. A run scores. The throw into second. 1-0 Atlanta. He hit that ball with one hand and got it way out on the track.
Atlanta scored 4 runs against Smiley in Atlanta last Saturday in the first inning. And they have scored 1 here. Ron Gant. And that's that one hand that you were talking about, and that's how strong that young man is. Gant with 32 home runs this year, and that gives you an idea of how strong he is. The Atlanta Braves, their offense, have scored 7 runs in the first inning, 9 in all other innings. And remember, they led the National League this year with runs in the first inning with 124.
And of course, a lot of that had to do with Otis Nixon being in the leadoff spot.
Batting fourth, right fielder, number 23, David Justice.
The gray-haired gentleman in the front row is Bill Bartholomew, longtime executive of Atlanta. Now they play David Justice to pull 1 on, 1 out. On the corner, Ray Miller, the pitching coach of the Pirates, paid a visit to the mound after the run scored. There he is. And those pitchers we showed you earlier are cooling it a little bit in the bullpen. One and one. Justice 5 out of 22 with 1 home run in postseason. Two and 1. Long first inning for John Smiley. The crowd quarrels with the call by Doug Harvey, but he is pretty much a hitter's umpire, wouldn't you say, Tim?
He makes the pitcher throw strikes. First and third and nobody out. If Smiley can get out of this half inning with only 1 run being scored, he will have pitched out of something and a psychological boost for the Pirates.
Big swing by Justice. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 0-0 think this entire game is going to go along at this pace this evening. Game 7. Pendleton the runner at first. Got it. Strikeout for Smiley is his first. That's the second out of the inning.
Fastball on the outside corner to David Justice. Tell you, it's tough to hit against a pitcher who isn't throwing strikes. I mean, he throws ball 1, ball 2. He walks the leadoff batter. He gets 2, 3, and 2 counts on the next 2 hitters, and then he paints the outside corner against David Justice.
It brings up Brian Hunter. Two out. Into the corner, and is it going to stay fair? It is a home run, and it's 3-0. 3 in the first for Atlanta. And look at that Pirate bench.
This year, but he hit them in 272 at bats. And does he ever put a charge into this one?
It just did stay fair. The batter is Greg Olson. Olson has had the most hits of any Atlanta player in the postseason. In the hole, another hit. There's been a walk and 3 hits in the inning. And Tim, I know that Jim Leyland would really hate to go get Smiley at this stage of the game.
Well, why?
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to embarrass him, and he was knocked out early in the second inning, but here he comes, whether he likes it or not.
John Smiley lasting only 2 innings in game 1, and now only 2/3 of an inning right now, but now this is no time for feelings. And Bob Walk's going to come in the game.
Three hits in the inning. Chases John Smiley. The 3 hits included this.
Nothing Braves. 2 of those runs coming on a 2-run homer by Brian Hunter. Looking fastball, getting it, and it's just a matter of whether it's fair or foul. And the big blow against John Smiley.
Smiley is given way to Bob Walk. And a swing and a miss by Mark Lemke with 2 out in the opening inning. But don't dismiss this Pirate club. They're terrific at home. They won more games than anybody else in baseball during the regular season. And some of their hitters who have not been hitting still have the opportunity. Bell gets the force out just in time. Walk gets the final out. 3 runs on 3 hits and 1 left for Atlanta. Atlanta got 3 runs on 3 hits and a walk in the first, knocked out John Smiley, and John Smoltz goes to the hill with that lead. Here is the lineup for these Pirates, who are just waiting to explode. Their first baseman and leading off is Orlando Merced. Gabe Bell at short. Andy Van Slyke in center. Bobby Bonilla in right. Barry Bonds in left. Steve Buechele at third base. Mike LaValliere behind the plate, and the number 8 hitter is Jose Lima. Meanwhile, Bob Walk will try to hold the Braves in check and hope that his teammates and manufacture some offense. You remember the game Saturday in Atlanta? Merced hit the very first pitch of the game against John Smoltz right out of the ballpark. And Orlando is 1 for 5 in postseason. Smoltz catches the corner, strike one.
I'll tell you, if John Smoltz was tight, he's not now. 3 runs to work with here in the bottom of the first. He didn't have that in Atlanta.
Off-speed pitch and strike 2 on the hitter. Merced, Bell, and Van Slyke.
First time this season that John Smiley has been knocked out in the first inning.
So the Braves have chased a 20-game winner and a heck of a pitcher. The set up to middle. Andrea Joyce is with us, and she has something for us now.
All right, Jack, as we mentioned earlier in this series, John Smoltz's dramatic second-half turnaround is directly related to his meetings with sports psychologist Jack Llewellyn. Now, since Llewellyn has never seen Smoltz lose, it was important to both of them that he be here tonight. So, Llewellyn made some last-minute travel plans, ironed his lucky red shirt, and arrived in Pittsburgh this afternoon. After a pregame meeting with Smoltz, he said that Smoltz is right where he needs to be psychologically, and Llewellyn is right where he needs to be, behind home plate, where hopefully Smoltz can see him. Back upstairs to you guys.
Thank you, Andrea. He looks more nervous than the pitcher. There is Mr. Llewellyn right by that radar gun. The base hit by Merced has these Pirate fans alive. Bell's the batter. And it's ball 2. Tommy Sant coaching at first. And Merced wants to talk to the coach, wants to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes.
Jack Llewellyn, the psychologist, can talk to John Smoltz about how to approach a ball game, but he can't do anything about 0-2 fastballs right down the middle. And that's what Smoltz gave Merced, an 0-2 fat fastball, which was a mistake, and John could pay for it.
Here Bell has 10 hits in postseason. Ball 3. These Pirates are going to get all the support they need from this crowd. Bobby Cox, although leading 3-0, has got to be wondering how much good stuff his pitcher has.
Andrea talking about his second half turnaround. Smoltz was 2-11 in the first half, 12-2 since the All-Star break, and 8-1 since August the 1st.
3 balls and a strike.
This is the turnaround that we were talking about and that Andrea mentioned. Look at the earned run average in the first half compared to the earned run average in the second half.
Another hit.
Pirates back at you. 2 hits up the middle, one by Merced, and now one by Jay Bell. Jay Bell now with 11 hits in the series.
And it brings the tying run to the plate with nobody out, Andy Van Slyke. He was in a spot last night to tie it or win it for Pittsburgh, and really had some good swings, but in the end struck out. Ball 1 from Smoltz. Andy Van Slyke, Bobby Bonilla, and Barry Bonds are a combined 0 for their last 30 with men on base. Pirates have to start hitting. One ball, one strike. What will he do tonight? Barry Bonds. One and one to Andy. Two and one.
It's like a devastating low ball hitter. And one of the problems with John Smoltz earlier in the year, his pitches were down. Greg Olson telling us before his last start that his most effective fastball was up in the strike zone.
Did he hit it? Caught up against the fence by Hunter. Merced tags, and Justice made the catch, and Merced goes to third. Van Slyke came within a whisker.
Looking fastball, he gets a fastball, and in this heavy air, one would have to think that earlier in the year, this might be a home run. Not in October. Justice against the padding. Watch Van Slyke, his reaction going past first.
He thought he had something. Here's Bonilla. And there's the ball. First and third, one out. I'm sure that felt good to Van Slyke, and it looked good for a while. Bonilla has had a half dozen hits in postseason. He held up. Ball two. Eric Gregg on the half swing. Merced is perched at third. And Jay Bell at first. Being held by Hunter. So there's hitting room for Bonilla through the right side, and they'll play him to first. Ball popped up to the second baseman. Second out of the inning. And this would really crush the Pirates if they fail to score in the first.
Could set the pattern for the whole game. That's exactly right. Hard to believe. 10,000 tickets went on sale this morning. And how in the world can you have a seventh game of a National League Championship Series and have about 7,000 people showing up as empty seats?
Here is Barry Bonds. If there was ever a time for him to break out of it, it is now. Smoltz gets ahead on the count. Bonds is 3 out of 23. And he battles John Smoltz. Another one, strike two.
That's that breaking ball on the outside on which hitters will give up. Watch how Bonds approaches, thinks it's outside, and it stays on the corner.
Bonds hasn't driven in a run in this entire playoff. Lemke gets to it and goes to first, and after one, Atlanta leads by the score of 3-0. It was first and second and nobody out. They failed to score. Long first inning concludes with Atlanta on top by the score of 3-0. These Pirate outfielders simply have not been doing the job. There's Barry Bonds, Van Slyke, and Bobby Bonilla, and they are 0 for their last 33 with men on base in this series.
Over the last two postseasons, Barry Bonds 0 for 21. And the record, and boy, that's a bad record to hold. Gene Tennis, that was the year after Tennis was the MVP in the '72 series. Nettles, Jackson, Weiss, and Bonds all 0 for 21.
Belliard with one to Bell. One gone in the second with Bob Walk doing the pitching. There's been a steady performer here in these 6+ games.
Yeah, the little guys have done it. Not that Jay Bell is a little guy, and that was 16 home runs this year. Merced's had his hits. Bell's had his hits. Buechele has had his hits. LaValliere with a game-winning hit. It's the middle three. Bonilla's had a pretty good series, but not in clutch situations.
John Smoltz with the bat in his hands. Bob Walk in relief of John Smiley. And it's 1-1. Smoltz started off like he was going to be a pretty good hitter. He's a big fella. But they caught up with him. He's had 7 hits this year. Walk chases him away. 2 balls and a strike. And Walk will do that. You can't be assured that that was an accident, that inside pitch. Now the count goes to 3-1. He walked the pitcher with 1 out. This Sunday on the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time, join Greg, Terry, Leslie, and Pat for all the latest NFL news and information. A special look at one of the league's top running backs, Barry Sanders. Terry will be joined by John Madden for a mid-season review of the biggest surprises and disappointments thus far. The NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern this Sunday. The last word before kickoff. We'll see if the 49ers can stop the Detroit running game and stop Barry Sanders. Lonnie Smith started this game with a walk and scored a run. Smoltz at first, 1 out. To the first baseman. And Merced takes the certain put out, 2 gone. Smoltz advances. A couple of close items in this game, Tim. The home run by Hunter and the fly ball by Van Slyke.
Well, the home run by Hunter, a big hit. It was a 2-out home run, and that was after Smiley had runners at first and third and nobody out. He got the sacrifice fly, and then he got the tough David Justice with a strikeout, and Hunter with a 2-out, 2-run homer. That, in my opinion, the big blow, and Van Slyke just got on top of his a little bit too much, a little too much topspin.
And it was only a couple of steps from the right field fence with 2 on. Pendleton is up with 2 out. And Smoltz running the bases. And don't be too sure he would score on a base hit by Pendleton. These Pirate outfielders can throw, notably Bonds and Van Slyke. Was on the disabled list at one time this season, and he ended up winning 9 and losing 2. He used to pitch for the Braves.
Traded to Atlanta back in 1982 for Gary Matthews. Walk initially with the Philadelphia Phillies.
He changed up on Pendleton, 1-1.
Bob Walk, by the way, with World Series experience. 11 years ago, he won Game 1 of the World Series. The only World Series the Philadelphia Phillies have ever won, beating Kansas City in 6 games.
One ball, 2 strikes to the Atlanta third baseman. Inning took forever with Atlanta compiling a 3-0 lead. Pendleton to lead, and Atlanta doesn't score in the second. They have left 2, but they lead 3-0. 3-0 Braves. Roger Mason gets ready down in the Pirate bullpen in the right field corner. The pitcher is due to bat fourth in this inning for the Bucks. And the batter, Steve Buechele. 7 hits in the playoff, including 5 consecutive hits to tie a record. Smoltz misses.
Steve Buechele, the big trade in the latter part of August, coming from the Texas Rangers. One of the young pitchers, Hector Fajardo, fine prospect. And you might think, well, why did Texas get rid of Buechele? The big reason is they had Dean Palmer, a youngster who was playing in the outfield. They wanted him to play third, and they thought they were going to lose Buechele to free agency at the end of the season anyway.
2-2. And those Texas fans might enjoy the work of Fajardo in the years ahead. Saw him pitch one time this year, and he can throw hard. Buechele is out on strikes.
Well, the playoffs are things that players dream of, or do they? We talked to Bobby Bonilla before the game, and here's what he had to say.
You've been about this for quite a while, you know, and you never really think it's going to take place, and now I'm actually going to play in one, you know, that could end the season, or you can possibly participate in 7 more. You know, like I said earlier, you know, you play 6 months for 2 to 3 weeks of hell, and it's exciting.
And enjoyable, but it could be more enjoyable for the Pirates than it is at the moment. LeBailleur is up. Ball 1, ball 2.
It's going to be heaven for one team after tonight.
LeBailleur 1 for 3. That was a pinch hit that won the game in extra innings in Atlanta. Skimmed away from ball 3.
I think it's imperative that the Pirate left-handed hitters do the job on Smoltz if they're going to win. John Smoltz, the toughest pitcher this year against right-handed batters in the major leagues. He held right-handers to only a 182 average. So if they're going to get him, probably they'll have to do it with the left-handers.
A walk to LeBailleur. Pittsburgh left 2 on in the first, and they had 1 on, 1 out in the second. First walk by Smoltz. Bobby Cox hates to see that walk. They indicate to the first baseman, Brian Hunter, that they'll play behind LeBailleur. And here's Leaned. He's had 4 hits in postseason. He bailed a little, and a strike is called.
Pittsburgh carrying 11 pitchers. So they're starting their 8 regulars, so they have 6 guys from whom to choose if Leland elects to go to a pinch hitter this early.
Lean hits it. What a stop by Pendleton. He got him for the out. That was spectacular. And had that ball gone by with the way Lonnie Smith was playing, that would have been a double and maybe an RBI.
And if this ball's in there, then Leland pinch hits for Bob Walk. But watch this play by Pendleton. 3-time Gold Glover, and that's why. He looks at second, throws to first. Brilliant play by Terry Pendleton.
Now the pitcher is up. Walk. Walk drove in 5 runs this year. Fouls the ball. And he had a home run during the season. LeBailleur at second with 2 gone. 1 ball, 1 strike. That was not unusual for Pendleton to turn to his right and keep spinning in the same direction. He does that frequently.
Well, the hop dictated that he keep going with the spin move around to the right. Usually if you backhand it, you keep your feet, you end up turning to your left. But because he was on the ground, he just kept spinning around to his right to make the play.
Walk is in the hole. Pittsburgh stranded 2 in the opening inning. Seven more innings to go, and Atlanta leads Pittsburgh 3-0. Into the 3rd inning we go at Three Rivers Stadium, and a 3-0 lead for the Braves.
Today in the sports section of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, obviously the headline that the Braves forced the 7th game, but look at the note in the notes column. Atlanta became only the 3rd team in NLCS history to win the final 2 games on the road and claim the pennant.
That was this morning?
That was this morning, yes. Almost like it's in the astrology section.
I'd like to find a copy of tomorrow's newspaper sometime. I'd go right to the track. Brian Hunter popped the home run in the 1st with a man on and 2 out. Ron Gant leads it off, delivered a run with a sacrifice fly in the 1st. Ball 1 from Bob Walk, who's in there in relief of John Smiley. Walk takes a lot of time between pitches. He works at his pace. David Justice will bat next for the Braves. Scored 3 and left 2. In there, 2 and 2. Gant at times might appear to be a little fellow when you look at him on television, but he is put together and he is strong. 3 and 2.
Walk trying to drop down to Ronnie Gant for that last breaking ball. A lot of 3-2 counts by the Pirate pitchers. Smiley first, and now Bob Walk.
And a base hit for Gant. That's the 4th of the night for the Braves. They were playing in the 4th.
You mentioned earlier, Jack, about how Ron Gant swung at that first pitch on a sacrifice fly one-handed. He just puts the foot up, picks the left foot up, and puts it down, swinging at that ball one-handed, lacing it by Jay Bell. Sometimes when hitters have a problem overstriding, that's what they'll do. They'll just pick that lead foot up and put it back down, and that keeps them from overstriding.
David Justice is the hitter. Struck out his first time.
It's the most unusual thing we've seen so far, a smile. No smiles on the Pittsburgh side, however.
5 out of 23 for Justice. To the Atlanta right fielder.
The only run scored by Atlanta in game number 1, a game in which Drabek and the Pirates beat Atlanta 5-1, was a home run by David Justice off Bob Walk. Walk with a save in game 1. Justice hit a curveball in the 9th inning, way out of here.
And they call a balk on Bob Walk. First base umpire Frank Pulley called the balk, and Bob Walk doesn't argue about it.
That is a move where the pitcher puts his weight on the left leg and then he spins. And when you put weight on your left leg, in the judgment of the umpire, often they think that constitutes going home with the ball. You saw Gant lean towards second, and Balk didn't quibble about that, or Walk didn't quibble about that ball.
And the batter Justice takes ball 2 with a runner at second and nobody out.
When you bend, if you're a right-handed pitcher and you bend that left leg, then you're in effect supposed to go home. Walk bent the left leg and then pivoted toward first, and that's why it was a balk.
At the time you were playing, Tim, Don Drysdale was doing that.
First one I remember doing that. Two-0 slider from Walk to Dave Justice.
Leadoff man on at second base. Out of play, 2-2. Brian Hunter looking forward to his second time at bat in this game. Roger Mason warms up along with Randy Tomlin, the left-hander. Bob Walk would use a strikeout. Justice wants to advance the run. Into the left center and deep enough. The runner tags. Bonds with a catch. Gant's at third with 1 out.
In the first inning, with Terry Pendleton at first base and 2 outs, John Smiley, the starter, thought he was out of it. But the first pitch to Brian Hunter, right in the zone. And he hits it to another zone.
Atlanta had already scored a run when Hunter touched it off. Now the Pirate infield comes in with Gant, a good runner at third, and 1 out. Foul ball. Hunter hit a dozen during the regular season. Bobby Cox would like to get some more runs. Him up for the second out with Merced. Foul ball, 2 gone. Big put out. Gant still at third. And the batter, Greg Olson. His Walk is a cagey performer, Tim. He knows how to pitch.
He's been around a long time. When he was sent back to the minor leagues back in 1984 for Hawaii, had a good year over there. And he's been with Pittsburgh since '85.
Ball 1 to Olson.
Greg Olson has had a terrific series. As a matter of fact, he leads players on either side with RBIs, 4 RBIs on the series, and the game winner last night, a double in the 9th inning to drive in Ron Gant. And Atlanta won it 1-0.
He was a good clutch hitter during the month of September and in the early days of October. Out of play.
You saw that 373 with runners in scoring position. That was second in the National League to Dave Magadan of the New York Mets.
He's 3 for 3 in this series in those same situations. Walk with 2 out. Gets one in there. 1 and 2. Pittsburgh will have the top of the order up in their third. And at third, 2 out. Just missed low, 2 and 2. Talked about this umpire before, Doug Harvey. He won't give the pitchers much. Not as liberal as some. Three and 2. Scored 3 in the first, left a man in the second. And 1 on, 2 out here. Into center field, Van Slyke coming on, and he's there. And the score still 3-0. We'll return to Three Rivers Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
3-0 Atlanta here in the bottom of the third. This is what we were talking about with that balk. Watch the left knee of Bob Walk. Watch him bend it, put his weight on it, and then go to first. See, once he bends that knee, he's committed to go home. And that spin move, clearly a balk, and it was called properly by Frank Pulley, the first base umpire. And even base runners are used to seeing that leg bend and knowing he should go home.
Top of the order for Pittsburgh. Merced held up, ball 1. Orlando got a base hit up the middle his first time. He's 2 for 6. It is almost inconceivable that this Pirate club is going to continue to be shut down here in their home park. Ball 2 from Smoltz.
The one thing they have to guard against now is trying to come back too soon, trying to get too many too fast.
Strike. Pittsburgh has stranded 3 while being shut out. 2 and 2.
Similar to a football team that's down 20 points at halftime and coming out in the third and only going for long bombs. The defense isn't going to give you that, nor is Smoltz going to give the Pirates offense anything like that either.
Just keep trying to do your thing. Into left center, called for by Gant. 1 out. John Smoltz trying to win his second game of this playoff against Pittsburgh. There is his personal psychologist, Dr. Jack Llewellyn. He said John Smoltz said they just visit and talk it over like good friends, and I guess they have become that. There is 1 out and a strike to Jay Bell, who singled his first time.
I think every pitcher or every batter has their own ways of getting ready for a ball game, but certainly that psychologist has helped John Smoltz. Whatever works for you.
Whatever it takes.
I remember Steve Carlton used to lie on the training table in the clubhouse for about 20 minutes before he pitched, and what he would try to do is image the inside and outside lanes of the plate.
Strike 3 to Jay Bell. And the third strikeout for the Atlanta Hurler.
Evidently, the imagery that John Smoltz is using, nasty curveballs, well, that was a real downer to Jay Bell. A lot of pitchers think that thought precedes the action. Guys like Carlton, if you think about the inside and outside parts of the plate, you're less inclined to throw it down the middle of the plate.
That's the 9th time Bell has struck out in this series. Here's strike one to Van Slyke, who lined out to right field in the first with 2 on.
Bad news for the Pirates.
Tough customer ordinarily. John Smoltz to very deep center field. Gant has it under control. Down go the Pirates in order in the 3rd. We've played 3 and the Braves lead 3-0.
You're watching CBS Sports coverage of the National League Championship Series.
This game summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
3 in the first for Atlanta, including the 2-run homer with 2 out by Brian Hunter. Bob Walk took over from John Smiley in the first, and Pittsburgh put the first 2 on in their first inning. Now they have left 3.
Remember the frustration of Andy Van Slyke with 2 on when he drove David Justice to the right field fence that was in the first, and now in the 3rd after driving Gant to the center field fence. More frustration by Andy Van Slyke.
First up in the Atlanta 4th is Mark Lemke. 0 for 1 in this one. Lemke 4 out of 18. To the second baseman leaned out by plenty. 4 in a row retired by Bob Walk, and he's doing a good job of holding the Pirates in it.
Entering the game with 2 out in the first inning, relieving John Smiley. It's a funny thing about Smiley. I mean, during the season, John Smiley, who was 20-8 on the year, gave up only 7 first-inning runs during the season. His 2 starts during the LCS, he has given up 7 runs. 4 in his first game, 3 this time around.
Belliard held up, according to Frank Bullock. Rafael grounded to short his first time. And he played short for a long time for these Pirates. In and out of the lineup. And finally, Jay Bell chased Belliard to Atlanta. Breaking ball, 1 and 2. Another one to lean. 5 in a row by Walk. And you would have to feel that as resilient as the Pirates have been all year, they're going to make a move sometime during the course of this one.
Well, it's going to be very, very difficult to get a big inning out of John Smoltz. As a matter of fact, the last 2 years, the Pirates have had a very difficult time scoring and having a big inning during any game.
Foul out of play by Smoltz.
Have to go back to 1979 before you see that the Pirates have scored more than 2 runs in any inning in postseason play. They have gone 128 innings without scoring more than 2 runs per inning. Look at the Dodgers from 1916 to 47. They went 165 consecutive innings in postseason play without scoring more than 2 runs an inning. So if the Pirates are going to do it, they're going to do it against a tough right-hander in Smoltz.
Meanwhile, Walk is working the top of the 4th. with 2 outs. 2-2. Six in a row by Bob Watt. He is certainly keeping Pittsburgh in it. 3-0 Atlanta in the home half of the inning.
Back in Pittsburgh, I'm with Jack Llewellyn, the psychologist for Atlanta pitcher John Smoltz. We heard you get paged in the second inning, and we thought maybe somebody was playing a joke on you, trying to get you away from your seat so that Smoltz didn't see you. Is that the case?
No, I just got a new answering service today, and they called to tell me they saw me on TV. So it's a pretty significant call.
You're becoming pretty famous. You had told us last week that you felt it was very important for him to stay even with his emotions. Does he seem like he is today?
He is. I mean, you know, they got the first 2 guys got hits, and he recovered well, and he looks really comfortable now, really smooth.
All right, thanks very much. Next time I'm in a slump, I'm going to call you as well. Let's go back upstairs.
So they're probably calling the doctor again, telling them they saw him on television again. Here's Bonilla leading off, hitting a foul to even the count 1-1. It's been a delight to have Andrea Joyce here with us on our telecast of this playoff. Now we have to trade Andrea Joyce for Jim Cott and Pat O'Brien and Tom Lasorda. Those folks will join us in Minneapolis. The World Series commences Saturday night at the Metrodome at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Pat O'Brien hosting the show with Tom Lasorda. Pittsburgh needs some runners and some runs. That's foul, and it's 2-2.
I don't think anybody knows the Atlanta Braves any better than Tommy Lasorda, and that's not to say the Braves are going to be in it. He knows both the Braves and the Dodgers well, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, I should say. The Dodgers winning 7 of 12. And over the last month and a half, it was just a matter of whether the Dodgers or the Braves would face the Pirates.
Bonilla to the first baseman, Hunter, 2 Smoltz, 1 out. And Bonilla is 0 for 2. And our buddy Jim Cott knows those Twins like the back of his hand.
Minnesota clinching last Sunday in Toronto, winning 3 games on the road to do it.
Barry Bonds is up. He grounded to second his first time. He's had 3 out of 24.
And if Atlanta wins tonight, they will have won 3 games on the road to do it. They won game 2. They won last night. Trying to win here tonight.
Strike to Barry, 1-1. He talks to the plate umpire, Doug Harvey. And Harvey doesn't hesitate to answer back. Into the left field corner.
Breaking ball hit hard to left field. And Barry Bonds, who was 3 for 24 before this hit, has a double. That is his first extra base hit in postseason play. He had none last year, and it's his first one this year.
And he resides at second with 1 out. And Buechele pops it up. Hunter wants it for the second out. 2 gone. So Pittsburgh is stranded 3. And they're going to need a 2-out hit here.
Barry Bonds 0 for 15 in this series with runners on base and 4 for 10 with the bases empty. And accentuate too much that the Pirates just have not picked up the runners on base.
It's up to LaValliere now. 2 out. Hard strike from Smoltz. Mike LaValliere walked his first time. He could put Pittsburgh on the board. From a deep second base. Lemke in the dirt. Save!
It looked like Hunter may have stayed on the bag, but I think he smothered the ball. I don't believe he had control. Mark Lemke, and you call it right, Jack, from deep right or deep second base, it looks like Hunter smothered the ball. Yep, it comes up, hits him in the chest, and he did not have control when LaValliere touched first base. I think it's going to be a throwing error on Mark Lemke. Deep at second base, and the throw is low. I don't know why Lemke was that deep. LaValliere doesn't run well.
Now Lemke gets the unassisted force out. Pittsburgh leads 2. They've stranded 5. They still haven't scored, and they trail 3-0.
Atlanta after 4. Brian Hunter may have hurt his left thumb on this play. The short hop, actually an in-between hop, and then he falls on that thumb, and he has the hot water bottle. I guess normally you'd be putting ice on that thumb, but it's so cold tonight, he's opting for the hot water bottle, and that's a very important hand, because this was during the commercial, the trainer checking the left thumb of Brian Hunter, and that's the most important one as far as his hitting is concerned, because that's the hand over which he rolls, the bottom hand.
5th inning now, and Lonnie Smith a foul ball out of play. Bob Walk has 3 1/3 scoreless innings under his belt. Smith has walked, scored 0 for 1. Walk is due to lead off in the bottom of the 5th inning. So we have Bill Landrum warming up, along with the left-hander Bob Patterson. Walk has done well. Deals with the top of the order. 1-2.
Smith 0 for his first 10 in the series, but since that time, he's 6 for his last 12. How you doing, guy? Lonnie with 2 doubles last night. He has 14 doubles in postseason play.
He's trying to get to his 4th World Series with his 4th different team. 3-2. Pointed out before, it's difficult to chase this batter off the plate. Got him. Strikeout for Bob Walk is his 2nd, and he's retired 7 in a row. The Pirate relief hurler has been terrific.
Third baseman Terry Appleton.
This pitch may have been out of the strike zone to Lonnie Smith. Looked like a slider, probably low, but close enough to swing at, and Lonnie down on strikes.
Hamilton is 1 for 2, a single and a run scored. That misses. strike.
Terry Pendleton, a member of the St. Louis Cardinals back in 1987. He played in the League Championship Series against the Giants, but did not play in the World Series against the Twins. He was injured. Terry Pendleton, we mentioned, had led the National League in hitting. And you see his LCS average. Barry Bonds, on the other hand, a terrific year, and he's batting 160.
Timing is everything. 2-2 on the batter. They really needed those gloves last night. A little better weather-wise this evening. Temperature 50. Pendleton hits it foul as he was jammed by Watt.
Said Pendleton didn't play in the '87 World Series. He did DH. He didn't play in that field. He batted only 7 times with the Cardinals. Had a groin pull that he hurt during the League Championship Series.
How about those Twins? 87 and a right back in 91, awaiting the winner of this game. That ball, what a great play by Merced. What a great play. That was a bad hop, and he stayed right with it.
This ball is scalded down the first baseline, down and in, and watch the hop that Merced has to deal with. Great reactions by Orlando Merced. A guy who has really improved his fielding, and that's that bad hop Jack was talking about. Fine play by Merced.
Walk was getting over there, but Merced took it himself for the second out. 8 in a row set down by Walk. And he gets ahead of Gant.
You know, Walk has restored order. It's just a matter of whether the Pirates can score or not. They haven't yet.
And this fellow deserves a reward. Gant delivered a run with a fly ball in the first, and he singled. He's had 7 hits in the postseason. Two out in the inning. We'll have a pinch hitter to start the Pirate 5th. Our pitcher can carve you up, in and out, up and down, changing speeds. Doesn't blow people away, but he gets them out. He missed with it. Walk has walked 1, fanned a couple, and allowed only 1 hit in 4 complete innings. Be careful here. Down and in, ball 4.
You've got to be more careful with Gant at first base. Gant was 6 stolen bases on the series. That is a National League Championship record, and you can look for him to run. Remember, the last time he was at first base, Walk balked.
We'll see what Gant does with the left-handed batter up there and the first baseman holding against the runner. David Justice has struck out and flied to left. Up there with 2 out. And they got 3 in the first, none since then. Gant is going. The Byers throw. Saved! The umpire said he missed it. A sweep tag by Bell. The ball appeared to be there, Tim.
Was too early. Watch Jay Bell slap the tag there, but the hand's not there. And Gant is safe. Good call by Dana DeMuth, the second base umpire. Here it is again. Bell straddling the bag. Now he kneels on the bag. And the sweep of the glove is too early. 7 stolen bases now for Ron Gant.
And Dana DeMuth called the play. He said, you're not going to trick me on television and show me missing the play. Now the runner at second, and Jim Leyland comes out. He may want the left-hander to deal with David Justice, the batter, now that Gant is down at second base.
Either that, or he may ask Bob Walk if he wants to walk Dave Justice and pitch to Brian Hunter. I do not think Bobby Cox will make a move with Hunter and go for Sid Bream because the Braves have a 3-0 lead. You don't see that too often. There's Bobby Cox. You don't see Jay Bell make a mistake like that too often. He thought Ron Gant was closer than he was. He swept the glove down there, and Gant wasn't there.
He clearly missed it.
Yep, good call by Dana DeMuth.
They're going to continue to work to David Justice with 2 out. Ball 2. In the Pirate bullpen, Landrum, and the left-hander Patterson.
That last pitch looked like they were pitching around Dave Justice. That ball about 4 inches outside. You can tell by the way LaValliere sets up.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
That extends his National League Championship record, and he is now 1 shy of the postseason record held by Rickey Henderson of the Oakland Athletics.
Now ball 4 to the batter. Third walk given by Walk. 2 walks here with 2 out.
That's what Jim Leyland asked Bob when he went out there. Do you want to pitch to him or walk him? And Bob said, I'll pitch around him, and that's what he did, and they eventually walked him intentionally.
Well, we wonder if that left thumb is still bothering Brian Hunter. He hit the 2-run homer in the first with 2 out, and then he fouled out to first his next time up. Ball 1. 2-out trouble for Pittsburgh. They certainly can't afford to give Atlanta any more runs. Braves lead 3-0 in the 5th. Walk gets even on the count.
Brian Hunter rolls over on that left thumb, and that's why if you hurt your right one, it wouldn't be nearly as severe as it would his left thumb, because he rolls over on that when he swings.
That ball is fair. Ball runs for Atlanta. And an RBI double for Hunter, who has driven in 3 runs. 2 walks and a 2-out double.
After this game, they're going to have to change his name to Brian Big Game Hunter, because this is a big game. 3 RBIs, a 2-run homer, and now an RBI double. What a night already for Brian Hunter.
And a tough night for Jim Leyland and the Pirates to this point. It's 4-0. And a strike to Olson.
Evidently, his thumb's all right.
The 2-out Olson. And a foul makes it strike 2. That was the first run given up by Bob Walk. First 3 by John Smiley. Some Atlanta Brave fans in the upper deck. They like what they see. too late for the Pirates. Bob Walk had better get the third out soon in this fifth inning. He walked in, stolen base, intentional walk to Justice, and a double by Hunter. Larry Reedus in the Pirate dugout. It's a tough evening thus far. Strike called, and it stays a 4-0 game. Atlanta's left 5, but they score an additional run in the fifth. Pittsburgh will start it off with a pinch hitter in the bottom of the inning. 4-0 now. Atlanta home half of the fifth. Up in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, they're going to work out tomorrow. The Twins in the morning and Pittsburgh at 7 o'clock in the evening. Or Atlanta. The visiting National League team will work out at 7. And then we have our first game on Saturday evening. 8 o'clock Eastern. Ed O'Brien with Tom Lasorda, and Jim Cott will join us up there. Cecil Espy leading it off. 1 ball, 1 strike from John Smoltz. Espy batting for Bob Walk. 4 1/3 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, struck out 3, walked 3, 1 intentional. Pinch hitter is in the hole. Down in the bullpen, Mason and Patterson. Landrum had warmed up earlier. Bottom of the fifth. 4-0 Atlanta. 2-2. Smoltz has struck out 3, walked 1, and allowed 3 hits. Pittsburgh is stranded 5. Put the first 2 on in the first inning, but did nothing. Then they left 2 in the fourth. Out of play off the bat of Espy.
John Smoltz clinched the division for Atlanta, and he's trying to clinch the pennant for Atlanta. The next to the last day of the season against the Houston Astros, Smoltz was the pitcher when Atlanta won, and the Dodgers lost at Candlestick Park, and that clinched it.
And a strikeout to start the Pittsburgh fifth.
I think it's worth recalling the graphic that we had up earlier. The Atlanta Braves arriving in Atlanta. In their 25 years, they've never gone to the final 2 games. The Atlanta Falcons even won the division 2 years. They arrived in 1966. They've not gone to the championship game, nor have the Atlanta Hawks, nor did the Atlanta Flames from 1972 to 1980.
Ted Turner, the owner of the club, looking on. Strike call to Merced. He's 1 for 2. And 2 out of 7. Pittsburgh can't get anything going here in their home park. 1-1. They're still to be reckoned with, though. We're only in the 5th inning. Smoltz falls behind.
Pittsburgh has not scored since the 8th inning of Game 1 in this ballpark. Hard to believe.
to short left, and Lonnie Smith cruises to the line. Fair ball, and he makes the catch for the second out.
Pittsburgh winning game 1 5-1, and then Steve Avery coming back and winning 1-0. And then the Pirates win 2 of 3 in Atlanta, and then Avery 1-0 last night, and it's John Smoltz with a 4-0 lead here in the 5th inning. So it's been 22 2/3 innings here in Pittsburgh that the Pirates have been dry.
But their big guys will have a couple more cracks at Atlanta pitching before this game is over. There are 2 out and a strike to Jay Bell. 1 for 2, and he possesses more hits in this playoff than anybody else with 11. Barry Bonds in the corner, and Bonilla next to him. Two to Bell. Barry Bonds a bit frustrated. Gave our camera a little shove after we took the earlier picture of it. Over the head of Bell, a pitch that got away from Smoltz. 1-2.
Some pretty quick reactions by Jay Bell. It looked like a slider that backed up over the back of Jay Bell. Almost hit him in the back, and then it almost hit his bat.
He was pretty limber on that one. And a strikeout ends the inning. That's the 5th of the game for Smoltz, who has set down 6 in a row, and now we've played 5, and it's 4-0. We'll return to Three Rivers Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. We played 5 innings, and Atlanta leads it 4-0.
Talked about Barry Bonds earlier slamming into the camera along the first baseline. We saw Andy Van Slyke earlier jumping up and down. There's Steve Buechele. There's Andy. And even Jay Bell after striking out his last time. Well, good pitchers can have the frustrations mount.
That's the 10th strikeout for Jay in the playoff. And Roger Mason takes over on the mound. 3rd hurler of the night for Pittsburgh, and Mason has done good work. We start the visitors 6th with Lemke up there. This is the 3rd appearance in the playoff for Roger Mason. He got a save the other day in Atlanta. Mid-season, he was 3-2 and 3 saves for the Pirates. To Lemke.
Pirates with the best record in baseball. They won 98 games this year, and I think, obviously favored in this series. But from a perception standpoint, they were favored not only because they were a good team this year, but because of what they did last year. Their frustrations, however, losing to the Cincinnati Reds last year in 6 games and trailing here in Game 7, 4-0. A lot of that's carryover effect.
Lemke takes a walk. A leadoff walk is the first contribution by Roger Mason. Walks have hurt the Pirate pitchers tonight.
One can make a case, Jack, that because of that perception that the Pirates should win it this year, that there's a little extra pressure on Pittsburgh to win it.
They were considered the favorites going in. They find themselves tied at 3 games apiece and find themselves trailing in the 6th inning, 4-0. Is Belliard. Pitch out. I thought perhaps the hit and run was on and the bunt was on.
That was a straight bunt. We saw Bobby Cox do that with Rafael Belliard in the 9th inning of Game 4. He is bunting. Not only, you don't usually see that with the pitcher coming up next, have your 8th place hitter bunt, but Lonnie Smith follows the pitcher, so if Smoltz can't do it, Cox is hoping Smith would.
Run again, but ball 2. There was a walk to Smith in the first, and Atlanta scored 3. There were 2 walks in the 5th, and Atlanta got their 4th run. He runs the bases. Belliard, the batter, nobody out in the 6th. Dyer, the catcher. Is foul and out of play. Jimmy Williams down the line from the third base coaching box. And Belliard interpreting.
Only 6 members of the Atlanta Braves with postseason experience. The Pirates, on the other hand, have had 19 players of their 25-man roster in the postseason.
Belliard takes it high in a 3-1 count. Mason walked Lemke, 3-1 on the next batter.
And Jim Leyland telling us that's why he left Mason in that game on Sunday, was because he can throw strikes. Well, games like this change a pitcher like Mason. He'll be trying to get the fastball over with the count 3-1 to Belliard.
That's in there for a strike. That was an unusual grip on the ball, wasn't it, by Mason? Bill Landrum starts to warm it up again along with the lefty Bob Patterson.
Yeah, well, that's just to start off. I mean, he's going to throw a fastball to Belliard. That's not a splitter right there.
Runner going and a foul.
He's just trying to throw strikes. Often when pitchers just learn a pitch like that, they'll walk around with that ball stuck in between the forefinger and the middle finger. They do it just to get the feel of it, but under no circumstances will Belliard see anything but a fastball here.
It's tough to eat like that, isn't it? Walking around with that ball stuck in there.
Well, they call them fork balls.
Runner going again, and a hit for Belliard. Lemke goes to third, and Van Slyke guns it over there. He got it!
Pirates have not been able to turn it around offensively, but what they're trying to do with a throw like this is to stop them from adding on defensively. A remarkable throw by Andy Van Slyke. Now keep in mind that Mark Lemke was running on the play. And Lemke out at third base. If you're Lemke, you've got to try it. You can't go from first to third when you're running on the pitch. When can you go from first to third? That was a terrific throw by Van Slyke.
And it was such a good throw that the batter Belliard had to stay at first.
He hit it hard, and Van Slyke threw it hard. Watch how he charges the ball. Lemke had already passed in the foreground, and Van Slyke with a perfect throw to Steve Buechele to just get Lemke. Wow.
You don't see that very often. It seems like an automatic play with a runner going on the pitch and a base hit to center. Belliard's at first, and now Smoltz up there probably to bunt. Smoltz has walked and struck out. Foul ball.
The other side of the coin on that play is saying if John Smoltz is going to bunt anyway with runners at first and second and nobody out, why take a chance going to third base? I think he took the chance because he was running on the pitch. The play was in front of him. It took a perfect throw to get him. And that's what Van Slyke did. He made a perfect throw.
He just thought he'd cruise into third base, but Lemke was shocked, I'm sure. Smoltz, it's another foul ball. And that's strike 2. You would hear Doug Harvey bark from up here.
That ball just foul. Smoltz with his bat in fair territory. And LaValliere taking no chances. He went ahead and tagged Smoltz and then looked towards second, but Belliard was standing on second.
Smoltz going to try it again. Ball 1. Light hitting game, 6 for Atlanta. Only 3 for the Pirates. Mason in his first inning of work. He gets this one down, and LaValliere goes to first. 2 out. Lean took the throw.
I mean, Smoltz laid down a blueprint with a count of ball and 2 strikes. It was either a slider or a cut fastball on the outside part. And watch how not only the direction is right, but look how he deadens the ball. Perfect bunt by Smoltz.
Left fielder, Lonnie Smith.
In order to bunt properly, you catch the ball with the bat. And that's exactly what Smoltz does. You see how he gives with the ball? When the ball hits the bat, he gives a little bit, and that's how he deadens it. Perfect bunt by John Smoltz.
Now at the plate, Lonnie Smith. He walked to start the game and scored a run. And he grounded out, and then he struck out. 6 out of 23. He has no RBIs. Up the inside corner, strike 1. Belliard at second, 2 gone. We're in the 6th. 4-0 Atlanta. Belliard is so little. It looks like he's left over from a father-son game out here. But he can play. He'll really help the Atlanta team this year. And Slyke has it. We're going into the bottom of the 6th inning. And Van Slyke, who made that great play, is going to lead it off.
Talked about the remarkable effort of young Steve Avery, only 21 years old last night. He was the winning pitcher with Atlanta winning 1-0. He was the winning pitcher in game 2 with Atlanta winning 1-0. 16 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings by Steve Avery.
Out in left field, replacing Lonnie Smith, is Keith Mitchell. The only change in the Atlanta array. And these Pirates had better get busy if they're going to do anything. They trail 4-0. And it's Van Slyke, Bonilla, and Barnes in this inning. Out of place, strike 1.
And the Pirates' big 3. 8 RBIs. Now that's a combination of last year and this year. So you see what their big guns have been doing over the last 2 years. This is their 13th game. They lost in 6 last year. And this, of course, game 7. And they trail 4-0.
They need some runners. They need some runs. Van Slyke has lined out to right and lined out to center. In the first inning with 2 on, he came within about 10 feet of a game-tying homer. Bonilla's on deck. Barry Bonds will follow. Pittsburgh has only 3 hits. Ball 2. Smoltz pitched around an error. The Atlanta hurler has walked 1. Outs away from a date with the Minnesota Twins are the Atlanta Braves. And strike to Hunter, to Smoltz, 1 out. 7 in a row by the Atlanta pitcher.
And the natural inclination here, you can't stress it too much, is to do too much. Going to the minds of those hitters, and all of them are trying to hit 4, grand slam home runs, 5-run homers. Just can't do it. And it's getting late.
Right at the right fielder. Justice, 2 out. And then he is out as the right field umpire made the call. He was taking the ball out of the glove. Let's take a look.
Technically, the rule says that you have to get the ball out of the glove with your bare hand. That's technically, but clearly, Dave Justice, he had it in his hand and then he dropped it in the throwing motion. The proper call, and no argument from Jim Leyland.
That's why they have that umpire out there in the right field corner in this postseason. And Bruce made the call, and now ball 1-2. Bonds is batting with the bases empty. He'll tell you he got it right. And Bonilla, the second out in the 6th. Is this his final game in a Pirate uniform? That is the way it's shaping up, although the big 3 will bat again before this one's over. Bonds fouls it away, 1-1. He got a double his last time. He's 1 for 2. The big story is Smoltz, 8 in a row retired. To the shortstop. Short hop, Belliard. Now we have played 6. And Atlanta's on top, 4-0.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 7 of the 1991 National League Championship Series is brought to you by Toyota and their quality line of 1992 cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. McDonald's, getting more for your money. That's McDonald's today. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you friends know when to say when.
4-0 after 6 in favor of the Braves here in Game 7. Ron Gant drove in the first run with the sacrifice fly in the first. Then with 2 out, Brian Hunter, a 2-run homer. Atlanta, Hunter drove in the additional run in the 5th inning with 2 out. And no matter who wins this one, it starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time, Saturday night in Minnesota. The big RBI man for Atlanta. He's driven in 3 of their 4. And we're down to our final 3 innings. Pendleton leads it off. Roger Mason, the pitcher. And ball 1. Lean stays with it. Close, 1 out.
Everybody talks about how baseball is a game of firsts. Brian Hunter has had a hit his first time up in every game that he started. He has started 5 of the 7 games and has had a hit every game that he has started his first time up. And tonight was the coup de grace, 2-run homer.
He's 2 for 3 this evening and 6 out of 17 in postseason. Up is Gant, strike 1 to him. Roger Mason got into a bit of trouble in the 6th inning with a leadoff walk, but he pitched around it, also gave up a hit. Out of play, strike 2. the Pirates get in it, the World Series tickets are sold out. But as of tonight, there are some empty seats for Game 7. And in the right center, Van Slyke on his horse. And he caught it. What a great play by Andy Van Slyke for the second out. He can play center field like few others.
And had he missed that ball, that might be an inside the park home run for Ron Gant, because nobody was behind Van Slyke. 2 consecutive innings and 2 terrific plays by Van Slyke. You see Bonilla sliding behind Andy, and had he dropped that ball and that ball's behind him, Ron Gant runs all night. There it is right there.
Look like they're breakdancing out there. Boy, he can play center field.
Gant was at second base when that catch was made, and had it gotten by him, he probably gets an inside to Parker.
I'm with you on that one. There is Gant. 0 for 2 for David Justice with a walk. 1 ball, 1 strike. This Pirate pitcher, Roger Mason, had his day in the sun recently with a save in the playoff. That ball's fair and fielded by Merced. And another scoreless inning under the belt of Roger Mason. And now it's 7th inning stretch time. 4-0 Atlanta.
Here's what has happened up until tonight. Pittsburgh winning game 1 5-1. Then behind Steve Avery, Atlanta won game 2. They moved to Atlanta. Atlanta wins the first game 10-3. And then it was Pittsburgh 3-2 and 1-0. And then last night, Steve Avery once again winning 1-0. So I think there have been 3 turning points, 2 of them concerning Steve Avery. Game 2 and game 5. At game 6 last night.
Now we're in the bottom of the 7th. 4-0 Atlanta. There is Avery. And there is Buechele. And the Pirate fans ask him to give them a lift. Give him a start. He's in the hole 1-2.
Pittsburgh wins game 1. Then Avery comes back and wins 1-0. And then Atlanta wins big, and another turning point for Pittsburgh, winning that 10-inning game 3-2, and then winning behind Zane Smith 1-0. But again, it was Avery last night.
And a strikeout for Smoltz, and he is rapidly becoming a big story in this playoff. He has retired 10 in a row.
And the countdown is 8. 8 outs are needed by John Smoltz for Atlanta to go to the final championship round, the first time in that city's history.
Into center field, and it is a base hit. A base hit for LaValliere in front of Gant. And good hustle by the second base umpire.
By Gary Varsho last night to lead off the ninth. A ball hit off the heel of the glove by Ron Gant. And now Ron Gant catching the ball clearly on the short hop. And Mike LaValliere has a 1-out hit. First hit for the Pirates since the 4th inning.
And only their 4th hit of the night. Now Lind looks at a strike. 1 on, 1 out in the 7th. Lind is 0 for 2. 1 strike. During the regular season, Smoltz had 5 complete games and no shutouts.
It's funny what the Atlanta Braves saw in John Smoltz. He was 11-18 for the Detroit Tigers in 2 years in the minor leagues. Traded for Doyle Alexander in 1987.
Good breaking ball, 1-2. Saw that Atlanta bullpen. It's quiet out there. They're counting on their current pitcher. They sit and watch and wait and hope. Walker beat short. They got a force out on LaValliere. Anybody else, that would have been a base hit.
And when you're down 4-0, there's no way you can run for LaValliere. Look at the dive by Pendleton and watch the play by Belliard. LaValliere out by a step at second base. Mark Lemke looked like he had given up on the play. He looked like there's no way that Belliard was going to make a play, but somehow he did. Boy, did he range a long way to his right. Lemke becoming a first baseman down there, making sure of one and stretching as a first baseman does.
The pinch hitter with 2 out is Curtis Wilkerson. Foul ball, strike 1. Wilkerson is batting for Mason. And we are in the 7th inning with 2 out. The game's slipping away from the Pirates. And a foul ball, strike 2. Atlanta needs 7 more outs to go to Minnesota. Roger Mason had 2 scoreless innings, allowing 1 hit and a walk. Wilkerson took it 1 and 2. Wilkerson looking for his first hit of postseason. He's 0 for 3. And the strikeout ends the 7th inning. For Smoltz, his 7th strikeout. The Pirates have left 6 4-0 after 7.
Game summary is sponsored by AT&T.
As we go into the 8th inning, we look back at the Hunter home run with 2 out in the first. John Smoltz has blanked the Pirates on only 4 hits through 7. Pittsburgh has left 6.
John Smiley, the starting pitcher, thought he was out of it, but with Terry Pendleton at first and 2 outs, Brian Hunter, a rookie. He started 64 games this year. And then in the 5th inning, 2 on, 2 out, again, Hunter. So 3 RBIs tonight with 2 outs. 3 of the 4 runs driven in by Brian Hunter.
And that fellow, John Smoltz, has been great, Tim.
Talk about the accentuation on youth. John Smoltz only 23 years old. Hunter 25. A very young Atlanta ball club.
But in the 8th, he'll be facing the top of the Pirate batting order. And he'll have to go through the big guys 1 more time in order to win it. Now it's Stan Belinda for the Pirates, their 3rd hurler against Brian Hunter. Boy, another big swing.
Actually, Hunter the same age as Smoltz, 23. Steve Avery, 21.
Stan Belinda has a victory in postseason. 7-5 during the year with 16 saves. Off the end of the bat into short left. And Bell gives way to Bonds, who makes the catch. Hunter 2 for 4, but 2 big hits. That's the first out in the 8th. Belinda following Smiley, walk, and Mason to the mound. And he will deal with the Atlanta catcher, Greg Olson. Olson 1 for 3. Breaking ball, strike. Olson has had some big hits in this series, totaling 8 base hits in the playoff. The Braves Braves are trying to focus on a dream, coming from last to first, leading in this decisive game, and we're in the 8th inning. Big swing by Olson. 1-2.
Tell you, this man is focused on a dream. 7.5 years in the minor league, signing as a minor league free agent for Atlanta. The game-winning hit last night, driving in the only run of the game in the 9th inning, driving in Ron Gant after Gant had stolen second, and Olson doubled.
2-2. These Pirates are in a tough spot. They managed only 4 hits, and they're down by 4 in the 8th. 3-2. Sid Bream played for the Pirates last year against Cincinnati in postseason. Signed as a free agent with Atlanta, and he helped them considerably, and the Pirate bench is quiet. It'll come to life in the bottom of the inning. Top of the order will be up. It stays 3-2 with 1 out.
Greg Olson, probably the only guy on either team who is going to the World Series regardless of what happens tonight. From Edina, Minnesota, about 20 minutes from the Metrodome does he live. Obviously hoping he goes as a player and not as a fan.
He and his teammates are 6 outs away from that happening. Somebody threw some debris on the field. Like a golf ball. Hunter flied out to start this 8th inning. 3-2. The count to Greg Olson. And ball 4 puts him on with 1 out.
The last time the Pittsburgh Pirates were in the World Series was 1979. Well, what about the Atlanta Braves? Actually, you mentioned earlier, they've never been in a World Series, but the Boston Braves were in the series in 1914, 1948, and then they won behind the 3 victories of Lou Burdett in 1957. And it was Lou Burdett who lost the last game to the Yankees in '58. And will the Atlanta Braves be in the World Series this year?
Don't count on it yet. 1 on, 1 out for the Braves, and a fly ball for Bonds. And there are 2 out. Ron Gant to the left, Terry Pendleton on your right. They are hoping.
And next to Pendleton was Nick Osaski, who signed with the Braves 2 years ago. He hasn't played with the Braves. There's Nick, suffering from vertigo. Big year in Boston, signed as a free agent, and because he couldn't play, the Braves had to go out and sign Sid Bream.
And it turned out well for everybody except Osaski. Ball 1 to Belliard with 2 out. Or excuse me, to Lemke. No, it is Belliard with 2 men out. Belliard has a base hit tonight and 4 total. Now some more foreign matter on the playing field. And it's a green weenie that Bob Prince, the late Bob Prince, instigated here in Pittsburgh. Aren't many smiles on the faces of these Pirate players. They won by 14 games over St. Louis to win the Eastern Division. And now they're down to their last 6 outs. Melinda misses inside to Belliard. Top of the order up in the 8th inning for the Pirates. Bobby Cox trying to take his team to Minneapolis. There's a strike to Raphael. first, 2 out. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fourth Pirate pitcher this evening. The relievers have done well. That's out of play. The relief pitchers have pitched 7 innings and allowed only 1 run.
That was an RBI double by Brian Hunter off of Bob Walk in the 5th inning.
Merced holding against Olson. The Atlanta bullpen has been quiet all evening. It stays 2-2. Whoever wins this one will travel to Minneapolis tomorrow. Could it be the 2 teams which finished last a year ago will end up in the World Series against each other? Another foul by Belliard.
Talked about it before. The Louisville team in the American Association back in 1889 finished last and then first the next year. Minnesota finished last year. They've already won the American League pennant. And will the same be true for the Atlanta Braves?
But don't count the Pirates out yet. They have 2 more whacks at the Atlanta pitching and another foul by the Braves shortstop. Stan Belinda struggles to get the final out here in the top of the 8th. David Justice. Things were going against him in the early going in this series. Ball 3.
Talk about the big 3 of the Pirates. David Justice only batting .200 for the series. But one thing about Ron Gant, even though Gant is not hitting for a high average coming into the game batting .250, but Gant has drawn a couple of key walks and stolen 7 bases.
Runner going with 2 out, ball 4. 2 walks in the inning by Belinda. And that allows Atlanta to bat their pitcher here in the top of the 8th inning.
That's the one thing about Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is probably the best base runner on either team. And not only has he had a dreadful series, but he hasn't drawn that many walks where he could utilize his speed.
And during the year, he walked more than 100 times.
107 times.
Now it's Smoltz, ball 1. Smoltz is 0 for 1 with a sacrifice and a walk. And LeBailleur wants to see if he can help Belinda.
Not too much production from the Pirates' big 3. Only 3 RBIs. Buck 94 was the average with runners on base 2 for 36 and with runners in scoring position. The big 3 for the Pirates, 1 for 17.
They will bat one more time in this game for certain. Ball 2 to Smoltz. Two on, 2 out. Now a strike. Once again, they go to work. Bob Patterson, the lefty, and Bill Lambert. Two and 2 on a power pitch by Belinda. 2 on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bob Bobby Cox and his squad 6 outs away from the Fall Classic. And the top of the 8th comes to a close. 8 left for Atlanta. This was in the paper this morning. Is it prophetic? They say Atlanta is going to go. They may. 3 in the first, 1 in the 5th. 4-0 Atlanta, bottom of the 8th. And let's see if this crowd can crank it up on behalf of their club with the top of the Pittsburgh order coming up. These Pirates need a rally badly. They've been limited by a very strong John Smoltz to only 4 base hits. Merced, ball 1. Remember, during the season, 5 complete games for Smoltz. Merced 1 for 3. And 2 out of 8. Ball 2. Smoltz has struck out 6. Struck out 7. And he has walked 1. 8th inning. There's a strike. 2-1. And down in the Atlanta bullpen, Alejandro Pena. And the left-hander, Mike Stanton. Into center. Gant is there. 1 out. And the Pirates down to their final 5 outs. This Sunday in the NFL Today, 12:30 Eastern Time. Perry, Leslie, and Pat, along with Greg Gumbel, give you the latest NFL news and information, and a story about Barry Sanders. It's a big game, Detroit at San Francisco. It starts at 12:30 Eastern with the NFL Today, the last word before kickoff. The batter is Jay Bell, 1 for 3. Twice in 8 innings has Pittsburgh put the leadoff man on base.
And you can hear Smoltz popping the glove of Greg Olson all the way up here. So he is maintaining a good fastball through 7 1/3. Olson telling him throw the ball down the middle of the plate. That's what that meant.
But he can't, and it's 3-0. He fell behind Merced, came back and got him. 3-0 on Jay Bell. 3-1. The last 2 times the championship series went 7 games. Final game was a shutout. Danny Cox against the Giants in '87. Orel Hershiser against the Mets in '88. The count goes to 3-2. Hit for Jay Bell, his 2nd of the night. And the Pirate fans have something to cheer about.
Well, things to cheer about tonight for Pirate fans have been sparse. Jay Bell's 2nd hit tonight is 12th of the series. 1 shy of the record. And for him to tie the record, one would have to think that the Pirates have a chance to tie it. But they got a long way to go against John Smoltz.
Now we get around to Van Slyke with 1 on, 1 out. And a strike to him.
One for 10 with runners on base. That was his 2nd at bat when he doubled in a run in game 1.
They play behind the runner at first, 1 on, 1 out in the bottom of the 8th. Hunter playing deep. And a foul by Van Slyke is strike 2. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Hit the ball hard twice. Waiting on deck, Bonilla. 1 on, 1 out, 0-2 to the batter. Gives the Pirates a lift here in the bottom of the 8th inning as we check the Atlanta bench. Stays 1-2 to the Pirates center fielder.
Pirates have had 2 runners on base in only 2 innings. The first inning when both Merced and Bell singled. And then in inning number 4, when Bonds doubled and LaValliere was on an error.
And a picture from up above from Shamu from SeaWorld in Orlando. And Slyke becomes the 2nd out of the inning, and he's 0 for 4. Smoltz gets his 8th strikeout.
Pitcher, you have the luxury of going out of the strike zone for an out. And that wicked breaking ball of Smoltz gets Van Slyke.
And the woes continue to mount for the big hitters of Pittsburgh. Bonilla is up. Ball 1 to him. Is this the final at bat as a Pirate for Bobby Bonilla? He becomes a free agent at the end of the season. His club is trailing 4-0 in the 8th inning. He could cut the lead in half. There's ball 2.
And one would have to think that the Pirates stand a better chance to sign Bonilla if they go to the World Series. More revenue. They don't make it. I mean, he's already turned down $16.8 million over 4 years.
Broken bat, pop fly. Lemke going out and can't get it. 1st and 3rd, 2 out. And the Pirates stay alive here in the 8th inning.
Bonilla jammed with the fastball. And this ball landing in the triangle among Lemke, Gant, and Justice. It's a very interesting situation right now for Bobby Cox. Do you bring in the left-hander to face Barry Bonds, or do you take a chance with Smoltz still throwing well?
He's already made his decision, and the Pirate fans say, Barry, if you've ever done it, you're ever going to do it now. But no, high in the air to left center to Mitchell. And the Pirates are still shut out after 8 innings, 4-0. They have left 8.
Atlanta winning here in the 9th inning, 4-0. 2 on with 2 outs in the 8th, and watch the reaction of John Smoltz. A fly ball to left center, and Smoltz saying, come down, ball. Barry Bonds is now 0 for his last 22, a span covering 2 years in postseason play, and that ties him with Gene Tennis. That's consecutive hitless at-bats with runners on base. What a nightmare these last 2 years have been for Bonds.
It's an awesome figure. As a result of that and the failure of others, Pittsburgh takes the game into the 9th inning, trailing 4-0. And it will be the 2nd inning of work for Stan Belinda. Some Atlanta fans are here. And Belinda will pitch to Mitchell. First at bat for the Braves outfielder. just went through the big part of the batting order. That's strike 2 to Keith Mitchell. Mitchell batting in the leadoff spot after replacing Lonnie Smith. Hits it foul off the end of the bat, and Merced can't get to it. That's the way everything has been in this game, just a little out of reach for Pittsburgh.
If you think that chant's loud here in Pittsburgh, what must they be doing in Atlanta?
They've enjoyed the evening till now. Ball 1 to Mitchell. The attendance this evening, 46,932. And a strikeout to start the Atlanta ninth.
In the bottom of the ninth, Steve Buechele, Mike LaValliere, and Jose Lind are due up. Gary Barshow is the left-handed pinch hitter, left for Jim Leyland. Lloyd McClendon, Gary Reedus, and Don Slaught all hit right-handed.
That was a happy year for Jim Leyland. Out of play by Pendleton, strike 1. Won the East by 14 games. Took a lead of 3 games to 2 in this playoff. Became a father for the first time here a few days ago. But this is a crusher for him till now. Pendleton is 1 for 4. Ahead on the count. And Jim Leyland has been terrific, along with Bobby Cox, as we have dealt with the 2 managers with regard to interviews before the games and after the games. A couple of classy gentlemen. One of them will bite the dust tonight. 2-2 to Pendleton. The hits are even in this game. Atlanta has all of the runs. Belinda in his second inning of work. He walked 2 in the 8th, but got away with it. He's fanned 2 since he's been in there. Foul, Smiley, walk, and Roger Mason to the mound. 3 runs against Smiley, 1 against Bob Walker. Pendleton stays up there with the 2-2 count. Tim, I guess if you ask the Braves player who the leaders were on this club, they'd include Terry on the list.
Terry Pendleton, Sid Bream, Ron Gant, certainly. The real strengths of this ball club, however, they're pitchers.
Into left center field, and Bond shags it, grabs it, 2 out.
And defense and pitching go hand in hand, and that's what John Schuerholz, the general manager of Atlanta, and Bobby Cox decided that if they have good pitching, you got to get good defense behind them, and that's why they signed Sid Bream and Terry Pendleton and backed them up with Belliard to back up the likes of John Smoltz, Charlie Lee Brandt, and you also saw Steve Avery. Tommy Glavine could win the Cy Young Award.
Bobby Cox has a lot of pitching. If they get to Minnesota, Glavine is the most likely starter. Most people feel that no matter the outcome of this game in this series, this pitcher, Steve Avery, will be the MVP of the playoff. It would be tough to dislodge him. The batter is Gant. Sacrifice fly, a single, walk, stolen base, lined out to center. Batting with 2 out. And the count goes to 3-0. If he loses this batter, they might get Belinda out of there. Strike called. I was surprised that Gant wasn't swinging. Bob Patterson is down in the bullpen for the Pirates. With an eye on David Justice. He's on deck. 3-2. Three-run first might turn out to be decisive. It certainly put the Braves in a wonderful position this evening. Until now, John Smoltz has taken advantage of it. Off the glove of Belinda to Lind, and we're headed for the home half of the 9th inning. The Atlanta Braves are 3 outs away from the World Series. 4-0 the score. Buechele, LaValliere, and Lind are due up. Everything is busy here as we look down from Shamu. It'll be a busy Braves bench. John Smoltz has gone to the mound to try to make it a complete game. The Pirate fans and their bench imploring the hitters in this inning to get something done. Smoltz 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's allowed 6 hits. Buechele is 0 for 3. He leads it off. Here we go to the bottom of the 9th. And ball 1. Smoltz gave up 2 hits in the 8th inning. Pittsburgh has left 8. Ball 2, and Olson slows it down. Bobby Cox and Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, anxiously looking on. Both benches quiet at the moment. Buechele, LaValliere, and Lind are due up. Back with a strike comes John Smoltz, 2-1. In the bullpen, Stanton the lefty, Pena the right-hander. 2-2. Smoltz with that high riding fastball makes it 2-2. Braves got 3 in the first and a run in the 5th, and Hunter has driven in 3 of them. Down goes the leadoff man. He foul-tipped it, and he's still alive. Just got a piece of it. Olson came up with it. Tim McCarver has left the booth. He's down in the locker room area. Ball into the dirt, and Olson tried to trick the umpires. You can't trick those fellows. A foul keeps it 2-2. And by the way, these umpires have been under the gun. There have been a lot of extremely difficult calls to make in this playoff, and they have done superb work. Buechele to center for Gant. 2 outs away for the Atlanta Braves. There is Barry Bonds. May not get a chance to hit again this year. Across the way, a little more elation. Juan Berenguer and Mark Grant in the forefront. Smoltz headed for the wire. The batter, LaValliere, out of play. LaValliere has a hit, a walk, and he's reached on an error. one strike. Only twice in this game did the Pirates put the leadoff man on. Bowyer trying to start an uprising here for the Pirates. High in the air again. And the right fielder, Justice, has it for the second out. And a smile crosses his face. He is happy now, and he might be ecstatic in a moment. There are 2 out, and Jose Lind is the last hope of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 4-0 Atlanta. Out of play. Atlanta had the franchise since 1966 in Georgia. They have yet to win a National League pennant. They were knocked out in the '82 playoffs. This is the closest they have come since. From last to first and 1 out away from a trip to Minneapolis. 2 out, nobody on. And that's strike 2, and now victory is 1 strike away for Bobby Cox and his Atlanta team. It's still 0-2. 46, almost 47,000 here. Plenty of smiles now with 2 out in the bottom of the 9th. 0-2 to the batter. And to the first baseman, Hunter. And that's it for Atlanta. They won last night. They won this evening. And John Smoltz has pitched Atlanta into the World Series. Talk about a Cinderella story. The Braves finished last year. They beat the Dodgers by a game. They fell behind the Pirates 3-2. Compared to the Braves, Cinderella wore boots. We'll show you more of the celebration. We'll have the trophy presentation. There's Bobby Cox, manager of the pennant-winning Atlanta Braves. They won it here tonight, 4-0. And they beat the Pirates 4-3. The Atlanta Braves have won the National League pennant for 1991. And they're the first team to have 3 shutouts in a championship series. No doubt that their pitching did it for them. Here's the final out of the game. To Brian Hunter. And what did the Atlanta pitcher think of that last out? How exciting can it be? Here comes Olson. Let's go down to Tim McCarver for the trophy presentation.
All right, Jack, obviously a jubilant clubhouse, and I am with National League President Bill White, who will make the trophy presentation to Ted Turner, the owner of the Atlanta Braves. Bill?
Timmy, thank you. We have, along with Ted, we have Bobby Cox, the manager, and also John Sherholtz, the general manager. And Ted, I know it's been a great year for you. I'd like to present you with this Warren Giles trophy for the great year you had here in 1991. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bill. And we accept this on behalf of the players, the coaches, and all the front office people and the fans of the Atlanta Braves.
Ted, you purchased the club in 1976. Did you think it'd take this long?
Well, I was hoping it'd be sooner, but better late than never.
Bobby Cox, you had an opportunity to win back in 1985 with the Toronto Blue Jays. You were up 3-1, a bitter pill to swallow, losing to Kansas City. What makes this so special, huh?
Well, Timmy, it was tough to lose 3-1. We were down 3-2 here, and we felt we could come back. We felt we had the pitching. If we got any hitting at all, we'd probably win some ball games. And it's very special coming from last place last year, rebuilding, and John putting the club together this winter and going out and do it. We thought we had a fine ball club in the spring, and I told them to ask me how good it was in August. We were still kicking in August, and we end up winning it.
Remarkable for young pitchers to shut out the Pittsburgh Pirates in this ballpark 3 out of 4 times.
It's almost impossible, to be honest with you, and they led the league in hitting, and it would look as if we led the league in pitching, but we didn't, but we were close.
John Schuerholz, your first year with the Atlanta Braves. What do you do for an encore?
We're going to try to do this again. We're going to enjoy this now. We've got the best owner and the best manager in baseball and the best organization. Stan Kasten, Bobby Cox, Ted Turner, everybody worked their hearts out, and I'm so delighted for this team and organization.
To make the Toronto-Kansas City connection, you were the general manager of the Kansas City Royals in 1985. Why is this year so much different and so special?
In fact, I told Bobby, I said, Bobby, you've got 2 important road wins coming after what happened in Toronto. Let's get them here in Pittsburgh, and he got it.
We will be right back at the Atlanta Braves clubhouse, the National League champions, right after this.
The Braves won it. They are the champions of the National League with a 4-0 win here tonight. Moments ago, Andre Joyce had an opportunity to visit with Jim Leyland.
Jim, obviously a disappointing moment. Is there any way to put into words what you and your players are going through right now?
No, I don't think so. I think, first of all, you tip your hat to the Atlanta Braves. I think that's how you handle it. You know, this is getting a little rough for me. I had to do it last year, and I'm certainly very disappointed. But I think, to me, the only way to handle it is they are definitely the legitimate champions because, you know, after we won 2 in a row down in Atlanta and came back home, we had to win 1 at home, and they had to win 2 in our ballpark. They did it, and like I said, they're a legitimate champion. John Schuerholz, Bobby Cox, coaches, you know, the players. What a great performance and what a great story for baseball from last place to the National League pennant. So I tip my hat to them. We didn't get it done. We certainly had our chances. We had a little edge, I felt, coming home, but we didn't do the job.
I was going to ask you, you were up 3-2 with 2 chances to win it at home, but you didn't seem to think that you did have much of an edge.
Well, you know, when you got Avery coming back and you got Smoltz, you know, that's a tough day, and that's what I told everybody in Atlanta. I think we had a slight edge coming home because, you know, you figure you ought to be able to win 1 game in your park, and we should have been able to, but we didn't get it done. And like I said, there's no excuses here, and you know, you tip your hat to the opponent. They earned it, and like I said, legitimate champion, and I tip my hat to them.
Is it a little tougher to take than last year?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, you know, be a martyr and credit everybody on the other side for a great job. It's tough. I'm very disappointed. I really felt that we could do it and we would do it, but we didn't get it done, and it's that simple. And like I said, I don't have any regrets. I hope that my players don't have any regrets, and that's the only thing I ask coming into this thing.
Well, you said throughout the week that it's been a great series to watch, and we thank you for being so gracious throughout the series, and especially tonight.
Well,
we do appreciate it.
Well, that's all part of it.
And that's the story from the Pittsburgh side.
All right, Andrea, thank you very much. I am with Jim Janowiak, who is the National Sales Truck Merchandising Manager for Chevrolet, and he will present the Most Valuable Player trophy to Steve Avery. Jim?
Thanks, Tim. And congratulations, Steve. On behalf of Chevrolet, I'd like to present you with the Chevrolet MVP Award, as well as a set of keys to a brand new Chevy Astro van, which will be donated in your name to the charity of your choice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Steve, it's hard to believe that only 3 years ago you were pitching in high school, right?
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit different world out here, but I just got to say hi to everyone back home, especially to my fiancée, Heather.
What was your approach to the Pittsburgh Pirates? What did you want to do that is the main reason for your success? Tell us.
You know, just what we've been doing all year long, being aggressive, going right after them, and getting ahead and throwing strikes. And, you know, they got such a great hitting lineup. You really just got to go after them and be aggressive.
And how about the Minnesota Twins? You're obviously looking forward to that this weekend.
I haven't really started thinking about that yet, but I'm sure come tomorrow we'll be talking about it a little bit more.
All right, we will return to a soggy Three Rivers Stadium right after this message and a word from your local stations.
Of Game 7 of the 1991 National League Championship Series is brought to you by Toyota and their quality line of 1992 cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. Allstate, you're in good hands with Allstate. And by Dollar Rent-A-Car, right on the airport, right on the money, with over 1,300 worldwide locations.
Atlanta won it here, and it's a very quiet ballpark in Pittsburgh. For Tim McCarver and Andrea Joyce, Jack Buck saying so long from Three Rivers Stadium. 4-0 Atlanta. CBS Sports coverage of the 1991 World Series gets underway Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern with Game 1 as the Twins host the Atlanta Braves. You have been watching Major League Baseball on CBS Sports, home of the biggest games in baseball, the League Championship Series and the World Series. From last to first, the Braves have won the pennant behind a great pitching staff, led tonight by John Smoltz. The fireworks are just beginning. The World Series Saturday, Atlanta at Minnesota.